Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, whenever you're catching this. Welcome to the Uncommon Commentators podcast. I am Antoine, and this is my co host, Garrett. We always come together every Thursday night to break down some of the recent occurrences throughout basketball, not just the NBA, but the collegiate circuit, WNBA, international basketball, all facets of basketball. But of course, I couldn't do it without my main man, Garrett. How you been, man? You been all right, Garrett? I know you just coming back from being out of town, so I'm glad you made it back safe. And how was your trip, man? Was it good?
Yeah, my brother, it was all good. Definitely a getaway trip, gets to get away for a little bit, have, clear your mind. So, yeah, I'm back and ready to get this thing rolling.
Of course, it's always good to take a break and come back with your mind and refresh. So I'm glad you got to do that, man. Everyone's been working hard in this post-COVID era just to keep up and catch up, So I'm glad you got a chance to put your mind and mental at rest. But tonight we have a good show for y'all, a pretty stacked show, a pretty interesting show, if I do say so myself. But I'll let y'all be the judge, of course. So obviously we're coming back after the trade deadline. That's what we really discussed for the most part during our last show. How we really thought some of the teams performed during the trade deadline, really grading the trades and really trying to analyze what they really meant for the future of the respective franchises. And for this one, we were going to pick up where we left off in our first topic of the show tonight. We really just wanted to give a reaction to the first weeks or the first couple weeks past the trade deadline. So I want to start off with you, Garrett. Obviously, the team that was the most notable one making moves was the Lakers and the Mavericks. So we can start with those two teams with our discussion. How do you think the Lakers have performed thus far in the Luka and LeBron era? And how do you think they'll look, going past the All-Star break now that we've seen how they have performed together?
Yeah, I think when you look at the way the team is constructed right now with Luka and LeBron, obviously it's more of a short term, long term type of deal where you're kind of trying to win now, but then you also know that you're trying to build for the future because of the fact that LeBron is still here. So it's we all know that when the Lakers traded for Luca, obviously this wasn't a move uh thinking about LeBron in the you know long term. So it's all about Luca. Obviously, this is about the future of the franchise. So, but just looking at the team now, obviously between Luca and LeBron, they're uh, building that chemistry, trying to get to know each other more and find that chemistry that works. But obviously, there are other things that they need to find to build around. Obviously, with the whole Dalton Connect and Mark Williams trade that could have gone down, obviously that was canceled due to other things behind the scenes with physicals and things of that nature. So, but I think that move would have turned out well for them. Obviously, they just got Alex Lynn out of Sacramento, but I just think that for the Lakers, you can't really expect much for them this year with this Luka trade. It's just more so just trying to build that chemistry and just trying to really find what pieces could fit with Luka going forward. I think that they have enough to make the playoffs, but you never know because they don't really have a legitimate big man. Obviously, they traded Anthony Davis to get Luka, so now they don't necessarily have a legitimate big man. As I mentioned, they have Alex Lim, but that's not a guy that you could consider as a long-term piece with Luca. I think that's just more of a short term or just trying to remain competitive for this season. But I just think that with the duo with Luca and LeBron is very exciting. You're talking about two guys that can give you 25 plus points and that can stack up the stat sheet. So those are the kind of guys that you can get. So obviously Lakers fans are very delighted to have Luca on their team, but now it's just more so of okay, after LeBron is retired, then what are you going to do to build a actual championship contending team for for Luca? So obviously we'll see that in the near future, but I just think that just seeing Luca and LeBron together is very exciting. So hopefully that they'll be able to put together some bigger games together, before the season's out, and All it is right now is just excitement.
Exactly. And we know for right now for Los Angeles in their last 5 games, they are 4-1. They were on a 4-game win streak until it was snapped by the Utah Jazz of all teams. They
Yeah.
lost 131 to 119. And as we record this, they're getting ready to face off against the Charlotte Hornets in about 10 minutes. So, we'll see how it goes, but I think they'll probably catch a W tonight if I had to give a guess. And we know with the Lakers, it's like how you said, everything's exciting right now, how it always has to be in Los Angeles. It can never be an era of dread or confusion. Because it's getting to a point where a lot of people are really, really unsure about the future of the Lakers, shall we could say that. But
Mhm.
even they themselves were really nervous. I feel like that's why they made such a drastic trade in the middle of the season, like obviously, and we're going to get to this, but we know about Anthony's health issues. He was looking good this season. He was looking really good. Like, yeah, he played 42 games. At the time he was traded, it was about 46 games in total. So yeah, played maybe about 42 out of 46 games, averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds a game. So he was playing like he regularly does, like AD 23, as I still like to call him. And he was playing at a superstar level. It was really unfortunate to see him get injured recently. And we know with Luka coming to Los Angeles, he played all right in his recent games. He had 14 in his first game and 16 points in his second one. So I think he's just still getting used to the systems. He's still trying to get acclimated. We 100% know what Luka Doncic is capable of. So I'm honestly in line with what Garrett said. I think this season is just really about getting Luka's feet wet in Los Angeles, really seeing what else they can do, really trying to get him used to the Lakers system, getting used to JJ Redick in the offense that he likes to run, getting him in shape and getting him used to his teammates. Yeah, LeBron is here, but this is Luka's core. They're going to try to build this team around him primarily. So we're going to see how they really try to do that in the future. He's 25 years old right now, averaging like 25 points, like 8 rebounds, and about 8 assists a game. So no, I think it's about 27 points actually. So he has not missed a step. Obviously, people like to try to ridicule him for his his conditioning issues and things of that nature, like his weight issues. But I think with him being like I think Luka's like 6'9", 6'8". He's about 6'6", 6'7". So with him being at his size and his frame, I do think his weight does complement him nicely. I do think he does absorb contact pretty well when getting to the rim. He's still pretty aggressive, and he's a pretty good athlete. And like how I've said it before on the show, I think the only reason we've seen him weigh this much on the court, because you can see it, like he is a pretty big guy. You can see like in his face. And
Mhm.
stuff like that he is indeed a pretty chubby guy. It
Mhm.
doesn't really interfere with his performance on the court at all. Basketball just comes so easy to him. And I think the fact that he's been like this far, like up until this point in his career, it's just because he's young. It's because he's young. I think it'll get to a point where he'll have that burning fire, that burning desire, especially in a new situation, knowing that even a player of his caliber is not exclusive. Even a Luka Doncic can be traded if he doesn't buy in. Apparently, that's what Nico Harrison thought was going on. So I think with Los Angeles, it's pretty cool that we're going to see the real prime Luka Doncic with the legendary franchise such as the Lakers. It's always cool to see, a legendary player with the legendary franchise such as Los Angeles. To give a preview into the future, we'll see what they do this summer. It's all about free agency for them. I don't think they're going to try to build through the draft, try to get him a rookie. It's all about free agency. We're going to try to see what triggers they can pull. They have Austin Reeves, so you could say they have his backcourt mate, a pretty good one at that. But I think they're going to try to improve the defense. Having Luka as your main guy comes with, like you're a superstar, not really being able to lock up the best opposing player on the team, like how you normally want out of your superstar player. Not everyone's Kawhi Leonard. So with Luka, I think they're gonna take like a similar route to honestly, I think how the Hawks are doing with Trey right now, really surrounding him with long pieces that have really, really long wingspans, really good 3-point shooters, no less than about 35 to 40% on the season. Just knowing the playmaking, his usage rate and how he makes everyone around him better. It's really about to be the Luka era in LA. And I'm really excited to see how it's gonna look. And yeah, I really feel like we can just really take it as it comes. Like I said, he had two fairly underwhelming performances, but I think that could either be accredited to, like I said, him getting used to JJ Redick's system, or maybe some nagging injuries that we don't know about. But of course, there was two halves to the trade with Dallas as well. We know they acquired Max Christie and Anthony Davis, who was the highlight of the Dallas part of that trade. He played phenomenal in his Dallas Maverick debut. He had like 24 points and 13 rebounds in the first half of his debut, really trying to make a statement. You could tell it definitely lit a fire under him. And it was good to see Anthony become the head of the snake again, like how we've been used to seeing. Like he was the head of the snake for 7 years in New Orleans. So it was really cool to see him reestablish himself as the main piece of a franchise. But unfortunately, it was ruined with another abdominal injury, and he's going to be out for some weeks. So it's really hard to put a timetable on his return. But he was playing phenomenal. So we know when he is indeed healthy, he is still one of the best big men, about top 5 big men in the league. You could definitely say, maybe potentially top 3 big men. You could definitely say, especially at the power forward position. So how do you think Dallas recovers from this? And what do you think it means for Dallas' future, knowing that when he is healthy, he can perform like a superstar player?
Yeah, it was very unfortunate to see Anthony Davis go down like that when he or is just now getting acclimated with the Mavs culture and his teammates, of course. And I believe I said this before about just envisioning the defensive presence the Mavericks will have with Anthony Davis as a fully healthy team, rather, because really all their big men, or at least their uh main pieces, are down with injuries. Not just Anthony Davis, but Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. But when you just look at the defensive potential of the Mavericks with those guys and other key players such as Najee Marshall or a PJ Washington, along with those guys, I think the Mavericks can go far deep into the postseason, and I think they could be considered as a dark horse team that can make it to the finals because of the fact that I think that their defensive potential can go a long way. But yeah, I just think that with Anthony Davis, like I said, it's very unfortunate to see him go down like that. But I think that if this team is fully healthy, then this team can make a lot of noise. And to me, I mean, when you look at Dallas last year, I mean, with the team and the players that they had, I mean, they were pretty dangerous on the defensive end as well. And I just think that adding Anthony Davis, it just makes them even more scarier. I mean, going up against a front court featuring Daniel Gafford and Anthony Davis, and even to your point, Antoine, you've mentioned about his big game, first time as a Dallas Maverick. I mean, those two were phenomenal. I mean, just looking at the defensive presence that they bring, and even on the offensive end, I mean, it's just scary to watch. And so I just think that this is a team that nobody wants to face if they're fully healthy. So, and not only that, though, but more on the offensive end with Kyrie and Anthony Davis. I mean, that's a fantastic duo. So, yeah, I think that the Mavs, I think they would be a very, very good team. So hopefully that when Anthony Davis come back, they'll be able to put on a solid run to hopefully they could at least make it as a top 6 seed, so that way they can avoid the play in the play in tournament and go on from there. But yeah, I'm very confident about this Dallas Mavericks team. So it's just a matter of if everybody can come back and get healthy at the right time.
And it's like you saying healthy, like is an amazing statement, an amazing point. Literally as we record this, because they're playing the Miami Heat right now tonight. It's a close game, about 69-65 with Miami leading the last time I checked the score a couple seconds ago. But literally for this game in particular, Klay Thompson is out with a foot injury. Kyrie is out with a shoulder injury. PJ Washington was out on February 12th. It was announced that he would be out. Daniel Gafford is out. Dwight Powell is out. And Anthony Davis is out. Caleb Martin is out. And Derek Lively is out. Like, I'm just going down the list. It's like when the Pelicans, like when the season first started,
Yeah.
like And of course, nothing is funny about this. This is how these guys treat their families and how they perform. I can only imagine the anxiety that goes through an athlete's mind when they suffer an injury like that. When they like how am I going to perform when I come back? Like can I still be as aggressive on the floor? Because I don't want to get in a position where I catch an injury again. Like I can only imagine how Derrick Rose really felt going baseline, trying to really hit the gas. Because we know how athletic the legendary Derrick Rose was. Because he just retired, of course. And we know, I'm pretty sure in his mind, his ACLs, it was definitely a somewhat PTSD or just a little bit of fear when driving to the rim and coming down hard after a dunk or getting a rebound, anything like that. I can only imagine. So, and for this Dallas team right now, it's all of their key pieces, their best pieces on offense and defense, including their franchise player, both of their franchise players, in Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. I mean, as of right now, they're still competing, you feel me, with the Heat. So it really does show you, to Garrett's point, how good of a team they really are going to be when they're healthy. It's pretty crazy, and now that we've framed both situations, we can talk about it a little bit in a broader aspect. It's pretty crazy to see a team like Dallas really come together. It's just a bunch of players. I think I said this on the last show. It was a bunch of players I didn't think would ever play together, with Kyrie and Anthony Davis. And it's just pretty remarkable. It's pretty funny because their drafts were up, I'm pretty sure, a year apart, 2011 to 2012. So it's just pretty crazy to see the potential that they have, especially with Klay Thompson on the team, and their young talent too, like PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. They have veterans like Spencer Dinwiddie, Kleber and Morris. So, well, no, he was actually traded. I'm sorry about that. Please forgive me. But yeah, even then, I think once they're healthy, obviously we'll see their full potential, but I think they'll be better than that. I think next season, when they can just hit the reset button, if they get to play a full 82 with this roster, I 100% think that this team can be no less than a 3 seed in the Western Conference. They are really, really good. It's rare when you see a high-powered offense and a high-powered defense, and with Anthony Davis leading the way like that, I get it. People are going to continue. And I can't, I don't understand. I get it. He's hurt again. It did indeed happen. But when he's here, he is absolutely here. It hasn't been, it's not like a Joel Embiid situation where Joel Embiid, he has not played that much at all this season, of course. But some people think Joel's declining a little bit on the floor, even when healthy. And I think with AD, that hasn't been the case at all. Even at 31 years old, he is still playing at an extremely high level. And I thought the first half proved that. When he has a fire under him, when he wants to just put in maximum effort, 100% maximum effort, there's still there's so many few. I'm pretty they're playing the Rockets in that game, and Alperen Sengun, there was just nothing he could do with Anthony Davis that night. So yeah, I just think their future is still very bright. It's not that big of a window, obviously. Father time is a real thing. Of course, we have seen guys like DeMar DeRozan play great at 35 years old, at 36 years old. But I think with Kyrie Irving being a guard, he needs his speed and athleticism, and that will start to dwindle a little bit around 34 or something like that. And with Anthony, we've seen his health issues spike up in the last recent years. So I think by the time Anthony's 33, 34, it's definitely going to be a little, I don't want to say way harder, but it's definitely gonna be very difficult for him to maintain his health status like how he used to back in his late 20s and things of that nature. So they have to go now. These next 2 years, the 25-26 season and the 26-27 season, I do think the Mavericks will be one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and I'm excited to see how they're gonna look, honestly. And did you have any closing words you wanted to say about the Lakers or the Mavericks? Obviously, it was one of the greatest trades in NBA history on paper in terms of the excitement and how it shifted the landscape inside of the league. So what were your closing thoughts on both franchises? And obviously, even before we move on, they weren't the only teams that did make trades. We know about the Atlanta Hawks as well. They have looked good with George Niang, Terrence Mann, and Karis LeVert. They were just on a 3-game win streak before they lost to New York last night. So we know that Atlanta made moves. the Spurs made moves. Unfortunately, they're about 3-7 in their last 10. So they're still trying to find their footing with De'Aaron Fox, with that new ball club. And even then, just to even give my take on the Spurs right quick before I let you go on the Hawks and the Spurs, of course, or any other team you want to give your 2 cents on. I just think with the Spurs, similar to the Lakers, we have to wait for the next full season to really see them get full power, to really see them get acclimated to each other's play styles. And I think they're going to be active in the offseason as well, seeing how they already have 2 stars. At that point, all you have to do is get the right role players and the right veteran pieces around this young team. And for the Hawks, like I said, they won 3 in a row. I like George Niang a lot around Trae Young. He's had some crazy shooting performances. Like his first game, he showed he had like 16 points, of like 4 of 7 from 3. Like it was like he was just shooting lights out next to Trae. And the Karis LeVert also has played great as well from beyond the arc. And Terrence Mann, he struggled a little bit in offense on his first game with 4 points. He had a bounce back game in the second one. I believe he had like 12 points that night. So a lot of these teams improved, in my opinion. If I had to say what teams got better, I think the Hawks got better. The Mavericks, you could say they got better. I don't think they were bad with Luka, but I think with AD, they did improve their defense, and they're still good on offense. And the Spurs, they definitely got better, for sure. What were your closing thoughts on this rather eventful trade deadline?
Yeah, I'm right up there with you, with Atlanta getting better auxiliary pieces for the team with Terrence Mann, Karis LeVert, and George Niang. And I will say this: I think that Karis LeVert has to be resigned by the Hawks this all season, because what he brings to the table on both ends of the floor is a breath of fresh air. And really not just him, but with Terrence Mann and George Niang, even with just those guys on the court, they've provided such a big lift, with George Niang with his shooting, and Terrence Mann with his playmaking ability and his defensive playmaking as well, and Karis LeVert being able to do the same thing on both ends. I will say the Spurs for De'Aaron Fox, that was a very, very good move for them, because during my trip, I actually went to a Charlotte Hornets game when they played against the Spurs, and this was the same game where I think the Spurs, yeah, this was at the Hornets, they were up by 18, but then the Spurs then came back and they were this close of really taking the win on the road, with De'Aaron Fox hitting that last shot, but it didn't count. But just by looking at those two, with a naked eye, I mean, those guys are that's going to be a lethal duo for years to come. And so, but yeah, shout out to the Charlotte Hornets. I love their arena. It's really nice, so can't complain. But yeah, just to look at Darren Fox and Wemby play together, like I said, it may not come all together this season, of course, but obviously with years to come, that duo is going to be together for a very long time, and they're definitely going to make some noise in the West. So yeah.
Yeah, man, and that's what I'm saying. Like I like seeing, because we'll see if De'Aaron can get his All-Star appearances to really get that Hall of Fame consideration when he
Mhm.
calls it a career some years from now. But I only brought that up because I like when these star players go to other teams, and they have they're still young enough to have another era, young enough to get a potential jersey retirement for their next team, whoever that may be. We saw that Jimmy Butler was in Chicago all them years, of course, he went, it was Minnesota, then it was Philly. But then I think Jimmy got to Miami. He's 35 now. He got there at 29 and was young enough to have an era. Took him to the finals twice, was a multi-time All-Star. We know how it ended extremely sour. But I do think he could still, hopefully, at least on paper, he definitely deserves a jersey retirement for what he did for the franchise, putting him on his back 2 times. And hopefully with De'Aaron, it'd be cool to see him become a legendary Spur. Obviously they're going to have some playoff runs, and that's something going to add to the legacy of him and Victor Wembanyama in the Spurs jersey. So if they can win a ring by the time, because De'Aaron's 27, so that's about an 8-year window from 27 to 35, at least a good 6 years. From 27 to 33, he will still perform like a star point guard 100%. So he can have a good 6 years in San Antonio. So I am excited to see how it goes. But clearly, how you mentioned, it is an all-star duo. And then we do now know, obviously, it's that time of the year. It's that time of the season, one of the most wonderful times of the year. And it's not Christmas. It's the NBA All-Star Weekend. It's officially upon us. It will be this weekend from February 14th through the February 16th. And they're trying some new things this year. We got a new All-Star format. It was about 24 All-Stars in total were selected across the 3 different teams. Before we even get to the rosters, how do you feel about the format? So, like, including Candace Parker's Rising Stars, it's gonna be 4 teams in total, and they're supposed to like have 2 games where like they play each other like and like they like it's like a mini tournament basically, and it'll lead to the culmination of the actual all-star game when it has the last 2 players. So it's like an all-star tournament kind of instead of an all-star game. So how do you feel about the new formatting before we get to the rosters? And do you think it'll stay, and do you think it's for the better?
Yeah, I don't. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I'm kind of old school, but in this case, that's what I would rather have is just the classic All Star game, East versus West. That's just how I would prefer to have. Because I mean, with the All Star format, I understand that you want to make things exciting and you want to mix things up a little bit. But for me personally, I just like it the way it always been, for years. I mean, where you just had the East versus the West. I mean, I think that's how it should be. But under the same hood, when you look at the the teams on how they were divided, you have Chuck's team and Kenny's and Shaq's. And when you look at the rosters, per se, for example, like with Chuck's team, you have SGA, Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, Alperen Sengun, Pascal Siakam, Carl Anthony Towns, and Victor Wembanyama, and I believe Trey is on that team as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you talk about, just a roster like that, I mean, it is pretty exciting, with the mixture of East and West. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, just looking at a front court of Jokic, Sengun, and Victor Wembanyama, and then potentially a backcourt of Trey Young and Donovan Mitchell, or SGA and Trey. I mean, hey, that's a pretty exciting roster. You go up against a roster like Shaq's with Jalen Brown, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie, LeBron, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum. So, I mean, there are some things that I do like about this All Star format, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I'm just very old school, and I just want to have the classic All Star game, East versus West. But I mean, we'll see how it goes, and maybe I would like it even more. But yeah, I think for me, I just prefer the old school format, just East versus West, and keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. I've always said that my favorite All-Star era was like, like the 2012 era, where it was just like the red and blue jerseys, like, but
Right.
specifically like the 2000, yeah, because I'm pretty sure that was the 2012 All-Star game. I was in the 8th grade when that happened, so that's just really nostalgic to me. That's when all like the stars were in their prime. Like LeBron was only like 26 years old, and Kyrie was a fresh all-star, so he was young. Like all these dudes were like, it's just so much to look forward to, so much that was about to happen throughout those next 10 years that we went on to watch. And that being said, I'm interested to see the direction of where this is going. Obviously, we know about the NBA viewership problems, about how it dropped this season, or at least last year's finals. It was like a record low viewership number for the NBA finals of all things. So obviously, they knew they were going to try to spice some things up this season. We saw them at the NBA in-season tournament, now known as the Emirates NBA Cup, a mini playoff thing or tournament in the middle of the season, which I actually do enjoy the NBA Cup a lot. I do like attending the games as a fan with the Hawks. I always say like it gives like Pistons fans, Hornets fans, like any teams that weren't making the playoffs, it gives them like a little playoff atmosphere. Because everyone knows with the NBA Cup games, so I'm pretty sure the players get a bonus too. If they win, so it makes them try
Yeah.
harder and stuff like that. We know they gotta dangle that money to make them players try harder, and I get it. It's their job at the end of the day. It's how they feed their families, and To get to the rosters, I like it. I like how they highlight the different names like Shaq's OGs and stuff like that. Chuck's global stars, and Kenny's young stars. And got to give some love to Candace Parker, of course, the other CP3. Love her. I think she'll do a great job with the young players. We know that Zachary Shea from the Atlanta Hawks is also on the rising stars. Got to give some love to the number 1 overall pick of the 2024 NBA draft. And yeah, like as I look at the rosters, my personal favorite team, because of course any of these teams are talented enough to get it done, 100%. My personal favorite team, it was honestly Shaq's team, to be quite honest with you. I really like Shaq's team. I really like how he really like assembled the Avengers with this one, and he still gave AD his respect. I think the draft happened before Anthony got injured, so yeah, it even says right here he's injured and will not play, unfortunately. But we do know that he would have absolutely been an all-star this year, like we are accustomed to seeing, like we are accustomed to seeing Anthony. And it's pretty funny, because like Garrett did mention, he is an old school guy when it comes to the All-Star game and all the NBA formatting that we watched for years growing up. So I did want to get the main man Wiley on the 1s and 2s. Obviously, he's been watching basketball longer than me and Garrett. So, like there's no disputing that. It's a fact. Of course, it's a blessing. To live this long. And y'all, and Wiley's only 43, so it's not even.
He's been on this earth very, very, very long time. Very long time. So
he has a
wow.
Look,
hey y'all,
the man of the hour.
This is how they do me. This is how they do.
Oh no, of course, we love you for your wisdom.
It's all good, man.
And all of your experiences as well. You have a lot of wisdom and a lot of great insight. So, how do you feel about the new All-Star formatting? Like we did say, obviously the viewership did drop, so we knew they were going to try to do something in this new era of NBA, like threes and analytics, and they were going to try to do something to spice it up, especially the most entertaining game of the year in basketball. So, how do you feel about the new formatting, and do you think it's here to stay, and will it benefit the future?
God, I hate it so much. God, I hate it so much. And I just feel like the NBA is trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just got to keep it simple. Keep it with the East and West. I don't even know why they went away from the rookie sophomore game. Like you're taking away from that to be able to display the new guys that are coming into the league. And I used to be when watching that, I used to be excited about that because like you get to see who's next. Like that's your way of seeing who's next. And hell, I hate it when they did the USA versus all the other countries.
All stars, yeah.
I just like, yo, why are y'all messing with stuff that why are you messing with something that isn't broke? The one thing that you should have been fixing is the fucking dunk contest, and really the only thing you need to do with that's more on the player. Hell, even this whole All-Star game talk is on the players. It's not the format. It's not adding certain shit to keep people entertained, because hell, when you had two ball, I actually liked two ball when they did that. Even now with the skills challenge, I actually like the skills challenge. It's entertaining. People actually try, because you see some people who try and play it cool, and then when they get down to the nitty gritty and you don't want to get kicked out, that's when you see the ones that actually try, because after a while you like, you know what, I'm about to win this. 3-point contest is always going to be a 3-point contest, although they tried to do the whole Steph versus Sabrina Ionescu thing again, and was trying to add Klay Thompson and Caitlin Clark. Shout out to Caitlin Clark, because she's like, yo, if I'm going to do this, I need to first do this in the WNBA before I do it with the NBA. But you could see the NBA, it's like they're trying to grab straws and see what's going to stick. The shit that's going to stick is the shit that's worked over the years. East versus West. Keep it at that. Do better with the fucking uniform. Either do better with the uniforms or go back to home and away team uniforms. Like,
now, I'm not gonna lie, the uniforms this year are really, really nice though. This is the best ones I've seen in a minute now.
Mm.
I'm
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie to you on that one.
I feel like I need to see them up close and personal because
Yeah.
looking at them on the screen, I'm just like, I guess.
Like, it's like for
Pretty
me.
solid.
Nah, like yeah, I agree with Garrett. I do like the presentation. It's in San Francisco this year, so I am excited to see how the whole festivities are, like, you know, how they're gonna treat Steph and stuff like that. And I do want to like go on what Wiley said, like, you know, piggyback off that. I get it, man. Like, you know, like they're trying to really try so many new things. Like I said, 24 All-Stars is a lot, man. And like, you know, it's getting to a point they're just like handing it out, you know, like you have to, like the All-Stars have to be the literal best players in the league that year. Me personally, like I thought it was kind of messed up when they, like, I preferred it when it was like the players just playing their way in and versus like the fan vote and stuff like that. Now the fans can decide the starters. That's perfectly fine. Like I want them like to have the all-star pool, like they got themselves in there. Yeah. Then the fans can decide who they want to see start the night off versus coming off the bench. Obviously, like, you know, the starters playing with other starters, like they'll be, you know, like they won't be as tired. It'll produce more highlight plays. And like everything, they know more people are watching at the beginning of the game than the end of it. So they obviously, and also it's the ego thing. They love being an all-star starter. That most of the time that means you're the best player in the position, in your position in the entire conference. So of course that's debatable. Obviously we saw Jalen Brunson, the all-star starting nod. So, you know, some might think he's the best point guard in the East, but some might disagree with that, you know, of course. And again, when it comes to this, I think just 24 all-stars is entirely way too much. I think it's better when it comes down just with the normal rosters when they always have like the red.
I think they did it because of the format. Because
the format.
You have four teams
you know, getting the different teams and stuff. Now I will say that is like the tournament, that's pretty cool. I get it because you do get to see like all these all-stars dudes like team up and go against each other and stuff like that. And they wanted to extend the All-Star weekend. Like they wanted to extend, they know they make so much damn money off the All-Star weekend. And like, it's one of their most, like, they see their viewership skyrocket. Even if it's a low night, it's still the All-Star weekend. People still want to, like, you only get one time to watch it the whole season. Like people still want to watch the All-Star game. That's why I think this is them just trying to milk it as much as they can. Like,
like I said, there's certain things they can change to make that more interesting. So like for me, I've said this before on my podcast, the celebrity game, turn that into the fucking Rock and Jock game. So for those that are of age and that remember Rock and Jock, when MTV actually showed music videos and kept us in the loop of what music to actually be on the lookout for and to actually listen to. They used to do these things called Rock and Jock. They did it for damn near every sport. They did it for basketball. They did it for baseball for sure. I think they did it for football like once, but they definitely did it for basketball. And like that, it looked fun. Like it really looked fun, where you had a mixture of your celebrities and actual athletes like NBA players and everybody to actually participate in that. They had the 5-point shot. They had a 10-point shot from like half court. Like as that grew and as the popularity grew, that's what I think that's one thing the NBA can do. Like take that Rock and Jock theme and run with it. Like it's not being used anymore. Fucking MTV play fucking reality shows and teen pregnancy shows all damn day.
Yeah.
And Rob Deerdick. Take that idea, start there again with the actual When it comes to like the slam dunk contest, 3-point contest is fine. It's perfect. Like because shooter, as long as you have your shooters, you good. Because that's always going to be a great competition.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like I said, skill challenge is perfect. As long as all this shit is about effort. If these players get out there and actually give some type of effort to actually put on the show, they wouldn't be worried about ratings. And that's what we see when it comes to the actual All-Star game. Now, the dunk contest, it's just more so of we need to get better dunkers. Of course, me growing up, I got to see the actual superstars participate. I got to see Jordan and Dominique's, and I got to see those guys do it. And as we got further, as the years pass, you see less superstars. Most of it is ego driven because motherfuckers don't want to lose. And my thing is, if you claim that you're the best, then go out there and show it. So, like I said, for that part, all of that is more so the actual stars and superstars wanting to participate. Now, when it comes to the actual game, again, all of that is play driven, like effort driven. Like these players have to get out there and give effort. My favorite All-Star game is the 2001 All-Star game where the East came back on the West. And they were down big. They were down by like 20 plus, and they came all the way back, but they made it a game. Like they wanted to, you can tell when it got into crunch time, these teams were like, they were playing to win the game. And that's the shit that I enjoy. And it's like, why can't we get that? Like, we're not saying go out there and go balls to the wall, but at least put on a show. And I'm not talking about somebody being, y'all just letting people drive down the damn lane and dunk every possession. Like, y'all know how to put on this. Y'all know how to play and make it look like you're playing hard. Like, do that. That's all. That's from my fan perspective. That's all I'm asking for. Make me believe that you out there playing hard. At least give a little bit of effort to put on that show. You do that, you're gonna get your ratings. It's just a matter of y'all need to get out there and stop bullshitting with this and actually make it entertaining for us fans to watch.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think they should change, Garrett? That could, I mean, if you have any ideas like that you think they should implement, or do you think they should just go back to the old formatting, like that 2012 era stuff I was talking about?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I think they should stick to the old format. I do agree with Wiley with the dunk contest. I think just getting more athletic dunkers, because you're kind of seeing guys that have been in a dunk contest for consecutive seasons, for the past year or two. You do want to see more exciting guys. Now, of course, it's up to the players to decide if they want to accept that invitation. Just for example, some people have said, "Man, I wish we, saw LeBron in a dunk contest." Now, it probably most likely been up to. Now, I'm not sure if the NBA has reached out to LeBron for an invitation, or he just decided not to.
I'm
But
sure they
I'm
have.
just saying that, yeah. I mean,
I'm
you
sure.
just want to see other guys to be, part of it. Now, don't get me wrong. I think when we look at this past decade or so, I mean, we've seen a lot of, guys that put on a show. I mean, I think one, for example, I believe was the dunk contest. I can't remember which year it was, but it was between Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
2016.
That one, yeah, that one was a pretty good one. Just to name off of,
Electric.
but yeah, but I'm just saying that I just feel like the old format was better. Of course, you may want to add some things here and there just to give it a little bit of a spice, give it a little bit of a kick though. But I think the old format has always been the best and it's always been entertaining. And I just think that you know like Wiley said, when you look at how everything is changing now, it's just like, okay, it's just doing too much. It's just doing too much. And I understand you're trying to get your viewership up, but look, if it's not broken, then it doesn't need to be touched. It doesn't need to be fixed. But I would say that's the only thing that I would just, change is so like I said with the All-Star game, keep it like it's always been, East versus West. And for the dunk contest, see if you're able to get better talent. But everything else is good.
Mm-hmm.
I got
Go
one
ahead,
more-
Wiley.
I got one
Of
more
course.
thing.
Please do.
So if you haven't been watching Unrivaled has a one-on-one tournament.
Yeah.
They should bring that could be another one, maybe at a smaller level, or if you do it at that level that they're doing it, I think it's like 32 players. You do it throughout the week, and then as you lead up to your semifinals and finals, that's when it like you have your final one-on-one for the championship game during that All-Star weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that would be something I would add.
Of course. And like that's actually a street ball thing called King of the Court, so they could literally just do King of the Court. They can make it a whole event. That would actually produce some pretty substantial highlights. That one like event alone would have so many ratings. You're seeing like, the point guards that could go against each other. Like if they have Kyrie versus Brunson, like for me, I'd rather, I know like normally in real life, obviously like, to make it take it and stuff like that. But if it was one-on-ones, I'd want them to like go back and forth, like one score on the like check up, and give the ball back and stuff.
I like to make it take it. Make it take it. Make you have to play defense.
Defense, absolutely.
That's how Unrivaled is doing it. They're doing a make it take it. The only thing I would do is take away the free throws because they do free throws in it. I would take away the free throws, but again, that comes to the ego portion of it, because I think if let's say they do pull out this one-on-one tournament, I think you would see a lot of the younger players. So, rookies, second, third year players more than your superstars, because again, ego. Nobody wants to lose. But again, me being me, if you claim that you top dog in the league, show it. So that's me. That's what I think they should probably add. It would definitely help for All-Star weekend if you want your viewership up. Especially, you can push that throughout the week.
Exactly, and like that's
and make it a whole entire thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Like for me, like it's just all the star power that could be involved in it, especially like putting it on a stage like that where they can really single, like, it's not a 5-on-5 anymore in a regular season game. Now you can really see, because all these players that be talking trash to each other, now you could finally try to settle the score, and it could be like, player versus player. It could have like a whole like tournament they could do, like literally like how they're doing the All-Star tournament. And of course, how we just discussed the All-Star weekend. Again, we hope all of y'all tune into that. It is this weekend. It always creeps up on us like every year. At least it creeps up on me every single year. Like we always hit it so fast. But y'all know what the All-Star weekend does signify. Every time we do hit the All-Star weekend, that means we have hit the midpoint of the NBA season. It's hard, 82 games is a lot of games. Like I remember I was watching, it was when the Hawks lost to the Bucks out of Las Vegas for the NBA Cup. And when Giannis was talking to the post, like the sideline reporter, as soon as he was on his knees and he was saying, we just have to stay consistent. We have 55 games left, and when he said 55, I just couldn't do it no more. It's just like, man, like I always say, like, this, bro, people think they're just playing basketball. I mean, there's people that play street ball that can be sore, that don't want to join like their friends the next night on that hoop session. Like these dudes, like 82 games is like so much when you really think about it. And of course, after the 82 games are over, what comes after that? The real stuff, playoffs. I always say that when the NBA season starts, the regular season is for the kids and the playoffs is for the adults, because most kids that aren't really paying attention, the brackets, the seedings and stuff like that, they won't know why their favorite team just isn't playing anymore for the rest of the season. And it's hard when you have to swallow a pill of your team like getting like your homies texting you brooms and or like Bucks in 6, just stuff like that. And it's always really painful seeing your team get eliminated in the playoffs. But of course, we're not gonna talk about the whole playoffs today, really just the nitty-gritty. For our last topic of tonight, we wanted to peek into our crystal ball, and I wanted opinions from both of these guys, who they think the last 4 teams will be remaining at the end of the season. The matchups for the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals. Y'all don't have to give picks on those because obviously we're not doing an NBA Finals prediction, but what 4 teams do y'all think will represent the conferences in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference Finals? You can go first, Wiley, and you second, Garrett.
Oh, man.
I know it's kind of hard, so
as I look over and see that Minnesota is putting their foot in OKC's ass at the moment. This is going to be it's going to be a little rough. I mean, if you look at the standings, of course, OKC is at the top of the West. Behind them is Memphis, which shocked the hell out of me. And then you have Denver, who I think it's going to be OKC and Denver. That's me in the West. Again, Denver with the championship pedigree already. They have a good nucleus in the team as far as the team is concerned, because they have multiple players on that team that was on the championship team. So their chemistry is solid, is good to go. So they're more so kind of cruising throughout the season until they get to the playoffs, and then as the season starts to close out, they try and ramp it up just like any other team. OKC, of course, they're one of the youngest teams in the league by far. They all, they have that chemistry of like a college team, and it's been showing throughout the year. They're currently 44 and 9. If depending on if they can make a run here in these last 7-8 minutes of this game against the Timberwolves, they'll be 44 and 10. But I like that team just on the strength that they're a young team. They have that superstar in SGA who can get a bucket. Like they have multiple players who can legit go out there and get a bucket. So I think it would be those two. If I had to pick a wild card from the West,
it's hard.
I guess the Memphis. It's going to be a toss up between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Houston Rockets, and actually, I more so lean towards the Rockets because of Coach Ime.
Yeah,
just because of the coaching staff there. He has that team looking very good, even though they're still, to me, they're still kind of figuring it out a little bit, but the way that he's come in and made that team more a defensive team than they've been in quite some time, I think that's going to help them. That's definitely going to help them going into the playoffs, and they can definitely upset a team here and there that's ahead of them to get to the conference finals. Mm-hmm. As far as the East is concerned, I think it's going to I think it's going to be Boston for sure. And I would love to say Cleveland. I would love to say Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland holds up. I do not think Cleveland holds up. Oh, shout out to my guy Delvin. Appreciate you coming on, man. I don't think the Cavs hold up, and we've seen this time and time again, playoff wise. So, like I said, Boston for sure, because Boston, they're reigning champs, and that team is just like Denver. They're championship pedigree, play good defense. They're already like they pretty much have the same team that they had from last year. So I mean, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Like I said, I would love to pick the Cavs. I think they fall off. I think they fall off. Even adding DeAndre Hunter, great pickup. I still think y'all fall off. I think that I'm going to say the damn New York Knicks might make it to the final. Reason being, if they fuck around and match up with Cleveland, it's going to be a show, and I think that they edge them out just on, and they're not even the better team. It's again, I think I'm literally going off of what I've seen the Cavs from year to year these last few years. Like they've been good, they get to the playoffs, and they run out of gas. So, yeah, Boston, New York in the conference finals. Now, my wild card would probably be. I'll go out on a limb. Actually, I take that back. Milwaukee would be my wild card. I was going to say Detroit because I like the way that they're playing. I like the way Cade has like he's taken the reins of that team and has finally. You could see it over the years that he was by far the best player on that team, but now he's come to that point where he is definitely the leader of that team. But somehow, some way, Milwaukee they're my wild card. So, but for the most part, OKC, Denver, Boston, New York.
Great picks. How you feeling, Garrett?
Man, why you kind of disappoint me there, brother? But I respect it. I respect it. I can't be mad at it. Come to think, But the Knicks, they are the third seed, so they're definitely in the conversation. But yeah, I'll start with the East first. But I think that the final four teams that we could see, in the East is Cleveland, Boston, New York, and Milwaukee. Now, as far as who I think is going to be in the conference finals, I do have Cleveland and Boston, only because, even to Wiley's point, like, yeah, it's like when they get to the playoffs, they may fall short. They fell short, last year, of course. But I think that with this team, they shown a different identity, in my opinion, because they didn't really make significant changes to their roster. I mean, this is pretty much the same rosters that they had, last season. Of course, when it came to the trade deadline, obviously they made a big move. They traded for DeAndre Hunter, a former Hawk, and they had to trade away, some key bench players of Karis LeVert and George Niang. But obviously, DeAndre Hunter, he was, playing phenomenal for Atlanta. I mean, he was, really in running for a $6 million a year, and still possibly so. with Cleveland, and I think that his presence is going to make Cleveland even more dangerous team. But even without Hunter, I mean, right now they're currently number one in the East at 44-10. So I think that when you look at the way the East is right now for this year, if you're talking about, okay, what team can give Boston a headache, a team that can legitimately push them to 7 games, I have Cleveland, because with the addition of Kenny Atkinson, their head coach right now, I think they just needed a new voice in that locker room, and a guy that can come in and see the better version of all the players, and really form this team together where they can play together unselfishly, and they've been playing very well all season. Excuse me, all season long. Now for New York, I think that is I wouldn't necessarily say a dark horse team, because we all know the Knicks, obviously they're a top 3 seed team, but it just seems like as of late they just have not been able to really, I guess, take that jump that a lot of people were expecting. Because especially last night against the Hawks, even though that we lost that game, and we honestly should have won that game, because I
Some free
mean,
throws,
Blue,
free
I
throws.
mean, we missed so many free throws. I mean, we missed wide open layups, but I don't want to get into all that. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, I mean, they gave up 150 points. Now, yes, they didn't have OG Anunoby and
Mhm.
Mitchell Robinson, but I mean, with Tom Thibodeau being a defensive, mastermind, I mean, it's just like they're just not really the same team. I mean, even for the Hawks, I mean, we've given them, we beat them here at home, and then we beat them in their own house too. So, but I'm just saying that, the way the Knicks are, playing right now, it's just like they're not really in it. So I don't know. Hopefully, after the All-Star break, some of
Alright.
the guys they get rest, that they need, and then hopefully that they'll turn it up, afterwards, like most teams do. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think I have Cleveland and Boston in the conference finals, but hopefully if the Knicks get right, then they maybe might be back in my good graces. But for right now, I have Cleveland and Boston. Now, now for the West, I do agree with Wiley. I do have OKC, in the conference finals for sure. Now, it's not me trying to be biased or anything like that, because just by looking at it, through a hardcore lens,
Mhm.
and this is definitely a dark horse team. This is not a team that many people may not see. Now, obviously, if I had to choose like a team that can really get there, is always going to be Denver. I mean, as long
Mhm.
as they still have Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, obviously the best player in the world right now, then I still have them favored going to conference finals. But as far as a team that can challenge them, and this is kind of relates to the first segment of this show, tonight's show, if they are able to stay healthy, then they can actually make it, which is the Dallas Mavericks. And I'll be the first one to tell you, if everybody is fully healthy, that team can go very, very far. And when you look at the defensive potential of that team with Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, and when you look at their wings with Najee Marshall and PJ Washington, that's not a team that you do not want to mess with. That's just, how I look at it. We all know who Anthony Davis is as a player on both ends of the floor. And then you add other defensive, monsters with Gafford and Lively. And we also know Kyrie Irving. We all know what he's about. We all know what he can do. And we all know Klay Thompson, one of the best shooters in the league and really of all time, also. But just the fact of the matter is, this team is still a very good offensive team. But with the addition of Anthony Davis, I mean, their defensive ceiling is gone through the roof. So I think that if they're able to if everybody's able to come back healthy, obviously they're very, very short-handed. But if everybody's able to come back healthy and if they're able to get out on a run before the season is over with, is as long as that they make the playoffs without having to go through the play-in, then they're in a very, very good spot. And I think that team can challenge anybody, whether that's the Clippers or the Houston Rockets or even the Denver Nuggets or Memphis, whoever. I mean, that's a team that can match it very well. So I have OKC and I have Dallas. And conference finals.
Great breakdown, Garrett. Absolutely, bro.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. Like both of y'all gave great picks for the last 4 teams of the season. Just want to read a comment from Delvin here. Jalen isn't like that on defense. They lost grit when they gave up Jew and Chinzo. I think he's talking about Oklahoma.
Yeah,
And like
late
for
post.
me.
That was a late post on. That was a late post on me. So my
No, you're good. I was making sure I didn't lose track of the
trying
trade.
to research some other stuff, man. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's okay, man. You're good. No need to apologize. But yeah. So I'm looking at the last 4 teams of the season. I do like what both of y'all said. They really seem like 2 realistic teams that could possibly go that far. I guess go ahead and cut into my picks too, because we actually had 2 of the same picks. For the Eastern Conference, I was gonna go with Boston being half of the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that once it hits the playoffs, like they're gonna turn up their intensity 10 times more than they have been playing already. I get it. It's a lot of film out on the defending champions, but they are still the defending champions, and I think that their roster is still deep enough. They're still they like their depth is still great with Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench as a 6th man of the year candidate, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still playing at a really high level. And we know when Kristaps is healthy, they're almost unbeatable with their 5-out offense, and their bench is still really, really good pieces like Al Horford. Of course, I like Sam Hauser. Derek White. Obviously, he's a starter, but just saying, like, all their pieces, still a well-rounded team. They really have not gone anywhere. It's just they lost some games here and there, and I feel like that was a part of teams really having Boston on their schedule and having great game plans for them. But I don't think they'll be that easy to figure out when they hit the playoff times. And it's hard to beat players like that in a series. It's hard to beat Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum over 7 games. It's extremely difficult, especially Jaylen Brown in the playoffs, who has shown that when the playoffs do come around, in my opinion, he's the closer with the shots he has hit in the past, been ridiculous 3-pointers. Of course, Tatum will get him there, but I think that Brown is the closer. The 2024 Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown. So that was going to be half of my Eastern Conference Finals. My other half, I was indeed going to go with Cleveland. I think they're going to stay white hot all the way. I really like Kenny Atkinson a lot and what he's done for this team. Darius Garland has really come into his own as more of a playmaker this year, as the starting point guard with as many offensive weapons as he does have. And in Donovan Mitchell, his scoring has dropped a little bit, but I still think he's still just as efficient. And I think his scoring has only dropped because it's the rise of Evan Mobley. A most improved player candidate. He's averaging like 19 points and 10 rebounds a game right now. To me, he's the X factor and why I think they could do good against Boston in the paint down there. Even though they have a 5-out offense, he's a really mobile defender. I think Evan Mobley, of course, like I said on another show that we did, unfortunately he's in Victor Wembanyama's era, so he might not ever win a Defensive Player of the Year, but he's always going to be in the running as one of the best defensive big men in the league, even at 23 years old, like how he is right now. So I think my Eastern Conference Finals would honestly be Boston and Cleveland. They're 2 of the deepest rosters in the Eastern Conference. Of course, I love the Hawks. The Hawks, even being objective, are extremely deep when healthy. With Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, obviously have Jalen out for the season, and still, like, if he was here, they might be able to do something. They would have definitely been able to make a playoff push if Jalen was here, especially with the moves they acquired, like George Niang and Terrence Mann and Karis LeVert. But, of course, being realistic on this one, I do think it will indeed be Cleveland and Boston. Just both teams are too deep. They have great coaching staffs. So when it comes down to the adjustments, they're going to be able to match each other game after game after game. And I think it's going to make for an exciting series. So I was going to go with Cleveland and Boston. And I was actually going to, it's like what Garrett said. And I think Wiley said it too. I was going to go with Oklahoma. I think they're going to learn from their mistakes, how they did in the last playoff run. That youth excuse against Oklahoma can only be used for so long. Like, these are the best basketball players in the world, the best young basketball players in the world. So all they need is all they need is the experience, and they have that now. They know they're going to try to right the wrongs that they made in the playoffs last year. And when fully healthy, like Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, SGA, Lou Dort, in their bench too, Alex Caruso, like I just think they're extreme. They're great. Not good. They're great on both sides of the ball. Even SGA is playing amazing defense this season, as the most improved player, as the most valuable player candidate. And that too, they have one of the three best players in the world right now, the 26-year-old SGA. So I do think that does give them a pretty big chance to even make it to the Western Conference Finals. I think he'll hit a new level in the playoffs this year. We know that he's faced criticism in the past for his play style. He'll try to draw fouls and contact and things of that nature. But he's become a real stone cold killer this year with his 3-point shooting, his shot making in general. And I think he's hit a new level, even better than he's been playing the last couple seasons. He's been averaging 30 for a little bit now, but this 30-point per game he's averaging this year, it's just like how he's performing on the floor. He's moving with a different aura of confidence, and that in the playoffs is going to definitely stay. And I think he's going to play great in the second half of the Western Conference Finals. I actually agree with Garrett when he says that Dallas can make it. It's just they have to be healthy. If they are healthy, there's not a doubt in my mind they can guard and score with any of the teams they could possibly face, including the Denver Nuggets. They have the physicality to match them in the post to give Jokic problems, and they have the shooting on the perimeter where they can match their shooters like Michael Porter Jr. and all their scorers. So to me, it's between Denver and Dallas. Honestly, I still love him. I love Nikola Jokic. I think he can win MVP again this year, especially if Denver goes on a late run at the end of the season. He's averaging 32 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists a game. So he's still playing at a really high level. And Nikola's only 29. He's not even 30 yet. And with his play style, he's not gonna fall off till not fall off. I mean, the stats won't even decrease until 35 years old, because he doesn't even rely on athleticism that much. Just the other night, he made a crazy one-legged 3-pointer, fading out of bounds. So it's getting to a point as long as he has his jump shot, his rebounding, and his playmaking, his basketball IQ will keep him at the top of the league for a while. And I could see him making the All-Star team, being the kind of 36-year-old averaging 14 points, 9 rebounds with 8 assists a game. And see, that's the thing. Of course, being realistic, a lot of people don't feel like Dallas will be healthy. I listed off their litany of injuries that they're dealing with tonight versus Miami. So obviously that's a big if, but I think on paper they are one of the most talented teams to make it that far. But to give my actual pick, I do think it will be Denver. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma City and the Denver Nuggets of Denver, Colorado, to be the Western Conference Finals championship this year. Depending on from there, I can't really tell you who wins. I'm not really one to pick against Nikola Jokic like that. And I think Michael Malone would definitely have something for Denver in the playoffs. I get it. People are going to talk about they're going to compare the rosters-wise, but Nikola makes everyone around him better. And I think that Denver has the personnel to give them issues, like Russell Westbrook with his veteran gamesmanship. We know he still gives players problems on the defensive end. That's how he'll be so aggressive and just be antagonizing. I think he could give SGA problems for sure. And I just think with Denver, they're still really deep as well. And just having their depth accompanied by the best player in the world, I still think their window is still as big as ever. Like I said, Jokic is still only 29. He still has 30, 31, 32, 33. He's not going anywhere for a very, very long time. Already one of the greatest centers who we've ever seen play the game of basketball. So that's it for me. I have those 4 teams. I have Cleveland and Boston, and I have the Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like I said, I wasn't going to make no picks of who's going to the finals because, of course, we save that for another show. At least you can see us pick up where we left off, and who knows, these teams might change depending how they look when we do our NBA Finals prediction. Of course, injuries happen at any moment. Players fall off at any moment. So we really just got to see what happens. It's the National Basketball Association. Anything can happen with the best basketball players in the world. So it was a great show tonight. We really appreciate y'all for joining us. Unless my two boys got any closing remarks. Of course, we discussed the trade deadline, the All-Star game, and the potential Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. So Garrett first, Wiley second. If I got any closing remarks, I'd love to hear them. Always.
Yeah, that is all for me tonight. So hopefully that you all will enjoy the All-Star weekend. Now starting tomorrow. So good luck to Zachary Ricochet, number 1 overall pick, and good luck to my man Trey. Knock him dead.
Nothing from the producer, man. Great show tonight, as always. Appreciate everybody that pulled up. Hey, all I can say is thanks, man. Appreciate everybody pulling up.
Of course, thank y'all so much for joining us. This was the Uncommon Commentators podcast. Please catch us back next Thursday as well, or we'll do our next podcast as usual. Keep an eye on our social medias, any updates, anything like that, any reactions, anything like that where you might need any messages from us, any notifications. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate y'all for joining us. And God bless y'all. And good night. Thank y'all again for joining us.